everyone, and welcome back. Well, this is the first video I've done since I saw Jurassic World Rebirth. And let me just say, that film, to me, was a 10 out of 10. Now, I definitely think having David Cope write the script, David, whatever his last, however it's pronounced. I've heard multiple different people pronounce it different ways, so I apologize. You know, he was the screenwriter for Jurassic Park and The Lost World Jurassic Park. Of course, the novels were Michael Crichton. So he came in and adapted the novels for screenplay format. Of course, you got Steven Spielberg directing, and then of course the amazing cast that's always in the Jurassic films. A lot of people are divided on the World trilogy, and I guess I fall in that category with everybody. I don't want to make a whole video doing a review because that's not really what I do. I don't do reviews. I might get mad when I'm doing my Let's Play stuff and rant about game development stuff, but sometimes that's just me blowing off gamer rage. Sometimes I'm blowing it up for comedic effect or just, whatever it might happen to be. But I really don't care for critics. I don't care for Rotten Tomatoes, or I hated, what were those guys' names back in the day? Ebert and Robert. I can't remember their names. Those two guys ruined a lot of people's careers. But I don't know, something about this movie, it brought it back to what the original Jurassic Park trilogy felt like. And I definitely do stand by my opinion that I, shared on social media, shared in my Discord server. This is what the World trilogy should have been. The only real flaw that I found with Rebirth was a lot of the text on screen at the beginning of the movie. A lot of that feels like you could have just had a character say that stuff. I know that the rule of thumb is show don't tell, but sometimes you just need to drop expository dialogue so that the audience knows and is up to speed. But aside from that one little nitpick, thought it was great. And I think it's, exactly what the franchise needs to be. It needs to be that big Hollywood blockbuster popcorn summer movie. Of course, Jurassic has always had a little more soul and a little more depth to it, but it doesn't go super in depth. It's not an art film. You're not going to see it on IFC at 2 in the morning. You're not going to see it at a film festival. It is a product of the machine, and I get that. But it was amazing. It's the first time in a long time I've actually wanted to go back to the theater and see a movie a second time. That's just not typically something I've ever done. I go and I see a movie and I wait for it to come out on home media. Of course, I grew up in the age of VHS, so, now we do DVDs and Blu-rays, and even now that's kind of become a thing of the past with streaming and digital and whatnot. But I thought it was great. I loved it. It made me feel like a kid again. There were a lot of Easter eggs, a lot of callbacks, and not in a pretentious or shoehorned in way like some movies do today. Everything felt earned when you had a moment. I mean, it was just great. And, I know a lot of people are probably going to, there's a lot of neckbeards that are going to get online and do what they do and tear it down. But that's not what I do over here. And it's not what we're going to do for my Jurassic content. But be that as it may, I have two very interesting videos that I would like to share with you today that have popped up online. And I think you're going to be rather going to enjoy these videos. Let's take a look.
for Jurassic World Rebirth. We have this massive orchestra with choir and everything, and we're going to get to record it at Abbey Road. Jonathan asked, can I come along to the recording sessions? And he said, maybe, you know, I could play with the orchestra for the movie.
I played in an orchestra when I was 18. If you could have told me at that age that one day there was an opportunity to play with a 105-piece orchestra at Abbey Road, with Alexandre Desplat conducting both the John Williams score and also his own incredible original score.
Yeah, they did use the Jurassic Park theme in the movie. Siskel and Ebert, that was their name. Roper was the guy who came in after... Okay, yep, it was Siskel. Siskel and Ebert. Those... Why did I wait until this point in the episode to tell you? Because I just remembered. Yeah, this scene in the movie is kind of a throwback to the original scene of Jurassic Park where Ellie and Grant see the Brachiosaurus for the first time. Aside from the raptor scene at the very beginning of the movie where you don't really see the full raptor, it was the first time on the screen that you saw your first franchise dinosaur. And it was that awe moment. The music swells. John Hammond's like, welcome to Jurassic Park. And Grant is just awestruck. To this day, it gives me goosebumps. I'm getting goosebumps just talking about it. But I will admit that this scene here, you know, watching the trailers for this movie, I kind of thought this might be a cheesy scene or something. And some people might find it cheesy. I cried. Everything that I've been through in my own personal life in the past 10, 20 years, watching media just become this very cynical cash grab or an attempt at a cash grab all across the board. Movies, television, video games, even literature now. It's not the same as it used to be. Everything has just become so cynical. And I've become so cynical and jaded. I don't like anything that's being made now. I feel like they're just trying to grab everybody's nostalgia bucks and everybody's hooked on member berries. This movie was full of magic. It was expert filmmaking like I grew up with. Is it still a product? Yes. Is it still a big budgeted Hollywood produced, you know, summer popcorn movie? Yes. But that's what got me, is that as awful as they've been making attempts to do those, it honestly has kind of felt like we've been living in this alien world for so long now, and I've been struggling to like reconnect with things from my youth, you know, and typically that is what people do. As you age, you remember the good old days, you know. It's very cliched, and I could go on and on about it, but you already get it. You get how humans work. But this scene was very touching, very moving. It was a callback. It made me remember being 9, 10 years old in the theater watching the original, and it got me. I teared up. And I don't mean I just teared up. I had a tear coming down on both sides. I was crying. It got me. It got me.
I would not quite believe it.
Hello, John. We invited Jonathan Bailey to sit with our great clarinet section near the principal chair.
I sat there in awe of all the musicians. The dream was just to play really quietly in the back.
To start with, he was just playing with the professional players. And then at the end of that take, Alexander was like, okay, do you want to do the solo? Which is an intimidating situation to be in.
So, clarinet,
Very much.
there's a solo. Come on, let's try.
Sure.
All right. So, clarinet is playing unison with the alto flute. And there's this very beautiful moment when the character played by Jonathan Bailey puts his hand on one of these dinosaurs for the first time. And he did great. Everybody was smiling and happy and cheering.
That was a highlight of my life. I just played with the orchestra, which I'm still processing. I'm sort of shaking. It's like a total dream come true.
You can see why that scene got me. I'm getting a little misty-eyed here. It showed me that there was still some light left in the world, that you could still make magic. You know what I mean? And it's funny because I didn't know who Jonathan Bailey was. I've never heard of him before, and I learned of him right before he was cast in Jurassic World. I forgot how I learned about him. I think he wasn't he in Wicked? Like, I don't do musicals. I don't really care for musicals, and I didn't see Wicked, but I think he was in that. Jeff Goldblum's in that, which is funny. But I think it might have been through social media. I think it might have been through Instagram or something. I follow a lot of Jurassic people, on there, and I just really wish I could remember where and how. What movie was he attached to? What show? Was it a show? I can't remember, but he popped up on my radar right before Jurassic. And, I followed the production of this movie best I can through the internet, not being part of the industry. But, the scene got me.
There's so much serendipity for me to be in that room at that time where that music cue came up that happened to be a clarinet solo that also happened to be Dr. Henry interacting with the dinosaur for the first time.
So we give you a part which is not in B flat, you have to transpose.
Yes, maestro. Alexander is a hero of mine anyway, but to have him go, sound pretty good, was like a badge of honor.
Never mind the pressure, he went through it and he did a great job. It was fun. The orchestra was happy to have him there.
The only thing I would say to young kids is just find something you love and just keep going, because you never know when it all just comes into an alignment like that. It was a very unique and unbelievably surreal but joyful experience. Thank you.
And that's what I was just saying. There were many times I wanted to just check out and be done with this world and just be done in general. And again, I know, we've talked about this before. It is kind of sad and pathetic that this day and age, and a lot of people are in the same kind of bubble that I'm in. There are a lot of people who just feel that they don't fit in, or maybe they were picked on in school. I don't know. For whatever reason, there are a lot of us who kind of, draw in and become homebodies, and we're not people. We don't want to go out. We don't want to put up with the fuss and the muss. And like I said, at this point, everything that we grew up with and loved has become a cynical cash grab product. And they're just spitting these things out, these games and these movies so fast, and they're so terribly done. We grew up with Mario, and Mario's still okay. Mario Wonder was probably one of the better Mario games to come out in the last 20 years. Because when they got into the new Super Mario Brothers games, it really started to dive in quality, and it felt very much like it was cookie cutter, and there wasn't any magic left in it for me. It felt like I was just going through the motion playing those games. But Mario Wonder kind of made me feel like a kid again, playing Mario for the first time. Now I'm kind of waiting on the renaissance of things like Pokemon and other franchises that I thought that we'd kind of lost forever to mediocrity. And I thought that's what had happened to our beloved dinosaurs here. I thought that after Jurassic World and them kind of soft rebooting it, that we were in for a long history of diminishing returns with each sequel until Universal pulled the plug, which I figured would happen after the 7th, because this was the 7th Jurassic Park film in the overall series. It might have been the 4th world film, but the 7th Park film. And I thought, after Dominion, there's no way we're going to see a whole new trilogy. Somebody had said they might. We didn't know for sure. But I agree with what he said here. You just have to hold on, even if that stretch seems like it's going on forever. You know what I mean? And I really never understood the importance of that before. You know, I've heard people say that all the time. Oh, don't give up, no matter how bad things get or how bad they seem. But what they don't tell you is the length of time you might have to wait before things get better again, you know?
It's literally the highlight of my career.
So welcome officially to Colossal Labs. This is the most advanced genetics lab, arguably in the world, and we definitely spare no expense in the process.
This is the real Jurassic Park, isn't it?
I think it's Jurassic Park with a conservation focus.
You don't see that every day. Or ever.
What is it like, to be the steward of this next chapter of something that means so much to so many people? Jurassic Park inspired so many scientists in this building, in this lab, saw that movie growing up and thought science is cool, genetics is cool.
The second you're stood, in the middle of Thailand, holding a camera, there's gonna be a dinosaur over there, and Scarlett Johansson. There's something about it that just feels like, no, this is what I grew up thinking the world would be. When you're a kid, you're promised so much through science fiction and films, and you're like, where's my jetpack? We're not living on the moon.
Yeah. Where's my vacations to Venus?
Yeah, and I feel like genetically engineering an extinct animal felt like it was one of those, right?
He's absolutely right. They've been telling us for a century now we were going to have all these great things, and we never got them. But it's like I said in the, about the video we watched before this, you just got to kind of ride it out, man. You just got to hang in there. No matter how tough it gets, you just got to hang on. And we may never have those. So we may never have the flying cars and the hoverboards and stuff, but and we may never actually have living, breathing dinosaurs, but a movie like this was able to, for the 2-hour runtime, it was able to take me on an adventure. It's what Spielberg and Lucas and those guys were trying to capture back in the 80s, especially with Indiana Jones and Star Wars. They wanted to make an adventure film, something that had you on the edge of your seat, something that captivated and really nurtured your imagination. And this movie has that and more. I do not for a second think any of the World Trilogy had that. The World Trilogy felt like it was trying to capture general audiences, but all it was doing was really disappointing fans. And the thing is, this is another one of the reasons that I've kind of decided to stick to just myself and my buddy Tyler playing games with me on my YouTube channel, is because I don't want to go down the road of being in a huge fandom with people and disagreeing and arguing all hours of the day and night about, well, this movie sucked or that game sucked and it just wasn't as good. I'm getting too old to have those long drawn out debates anymore. Doing these videos and running my YouTube channel is about the energy I have left anymore to discuss the media that I'm into. You know what I mean?
Your choice was, well, let's change the world, right, and make it happen. Woo! So when we were in the edit of Jurassic World Rebirth, front page news happened around the whole world about the de-extinction of the direwolf, which is basically your life's work slightly, right?
It created this insane excitement around the world for not just direwolves, but also for wolf conservation and everything. And it was amazing to see the reaction in terms of just this major scientific achievement that we were all sharing together. But we're losing species at such an insane rate that being able to at least back them up and protect them while developing technologies for de-extinction is just a redundancy plan for conservation.
And that is so nuts to me. Back up the animals just by preserving their DNA, back them up like they're ones and zeros and a string of data. Well, technically, I guess it's kind of what all matter in reality is just a string of data. I mean, me, you, everybody else, we're essentially electrical impulses in the brain. Like, you know, there's no soul. That's a very antiquated way of thinking of your essence. No, from a scientific standpoint, you are kind of, you know, you're strand of DNA, more or less. And I guess, yeah, you could take samples of all the life on Earth and create a, I don't know, like a modern Noah's Ark, I suppose. The thing is, though, humans, I don't think they're going to be around long enough to play God like that. You know, I think we had our shot at being here and had our shot at longevity, and we've kind of given up our right to longevity with how we've treated planet and the life on it. At this point, I think it's going to be an uphill battle to cling to what you have left.
In our movie, the idea is the characters are going to this island to get this DNA samples from the world's largest dinosaurs that can help like cure heart disease. So that's not that far-fetched.
There's hidden cures and hidden data in all these different species that we're losing. So it's definitely not that far-fetched.
You're really de-extincting species. Like even this behind us, right? This is a mammoth in ice.
So Colossal is arguably the #1 genetic engineering company in the world. People think that this is what we do. They just go out to Siberia and get massive frozen mammoths and like resuscitate them or something, right? And as we go this way, you'll learn a little bit about the process. We actually use a combination of bones and teeth that we drill into.
So say you've got all those samples, right? You use it to compare to an existing
Exactly.
species.
You identify the most important genes of its closest living relatives. We want to resurrect the core phenotypes or physical attributes like what made a mammoth a mammoth. So you're looking at mammoth hairs growing from the edits that we've put into Asian elephant tissue, and you can actually grow specific hair types. Right, your film's about dinosaurs, right?
Right. Is that a possibility? Is there a path towards it?
You can't get dino DNA. Amber, believe it or not, it's very porous, it doesn't hold DNA, but if you took advanced genetic engineering, advanced computational models, you had an avian genomics group do trait engineering, you created synthetic eggs, I think you'll have dinosaur equivalents in the next 100 years using these tools, just a more advanced version of these tools.
You're a very impressive nerd, Henry.
If you could bring back any dinosaur, what would you bring back?
The one that's going to get all the tourists is going to be the T-Rex.
Yeah.
It's also going to go very wrong. Might well escape. It'll work out in the end. It would make a really cool movie.
Yeah. Over some time period, whether that's 5 years or 20 years, we at Colossal will be able to engineer nearly anything. Like I think that genetic engineering, computational analysis, and the access to compute and more compute will give us the ability to truly create new forms of life.
You know, and it's wild too, because that's, you think about Michael Crichton wrote Jurassic Park in the late 80s, early 90s. I'm not sure exactly what year he sat down and penned it. We can look at when it was released, but you know, that was, I don't remember what the initial release date of the novel was. I'd have to look that up. But you think about the technology that they had at the time that he wrote that book compared to what we have now. Novel release date. Jurassic Park novel release date. November 20th, 1990. Okay. So he wrote Jurassic Park theoretically in the late 80s. I don't know how many years it took him to write it, but there was a ton of research that he did, you know, going into writing it. And you think about the 89 was what, 30, how many years ago? What year is this? 25? How wildly different is the technology now? I mean, this lab, I've never heard of this lab before, Colossal. Of course, I don't really follow science like that. I occasionally see stuff like on Instagram or whatever. I might see a little, you know, I just started following an account that shows dinosaur facts and science facts and things like that. And that's about as far as I get with science literacy. But I grant you, we're going to start seeing things that blow my mind. And I was just thinking about this the other day. My grandmother, who is still alive, is 87 years old. We paid her a visit, and the family had a little birthday get together for her on the 4th of July, which is her birthday. And everybody that could come was there. And it's just crazy to me. So that would have been 1937. So think about all the things she saw invented while she was alive. Television, computers, cell phones, the internet, cassette tapes, CDs, DVDs, VHS, VCRs, video game consoles, space travel, the moon landing, just contained within one single, human life. The advancements that were made are insane. So,
but that doesn't mean we should.
Your scientists were so preoccupied with whether or not they could, they didn't stop to think if they should.
Our goal is to create de-extinction, to build technologies that can help human healthcare.
If we get this DNA, millions of lives are saved.
As well as subsidize all those technologies for conservation. If we can build a company that builds technologies to advance species preservation, then I think we have done our job.
And I do advise you to start building some 10,000 volt fences.
Well, here's the thing, though. If you de-extinct an animal whose environment in which they live is no longer in existence, what are you going to do with that animal? So you de-extinct direwolf. Those creatures looked like they needed snowy environment. In another 100 years or so, there might not be any snowy environments left on Earth. Might not be any humans left on Earth at the rate everybody is being hard-headed and speed running to the end. I don't know. Just food for thought. Just
to be on the safe side.
Just to be on the safe side.
So there it is, folks. That's the two videos I wanted to take a look at today. Like I said, I'd never known who Jonathan Bailey was, but he's very interesting. He's a pretty good actor. He's a pretty handsome, pretty sexy, gentleman there. So the gays and theys are very appreciative. We get to watch him when we see Jurassic. But I highly recommend this movie. The second video we watched, I'm all about de-extinction if you can. Obviously, a lot of my passion for things like that are probably driven by Jurassic and sheer curiosity. Probably not a good idea at this point. So I might actually be a retractor when it comes to de-extinction and things like that. I guess they're doing it for medical reasons, but that kind of just seems, I don't know. I mean, if we can advance medical science and cure diseases and things like that, I'm all for that. But like, I read something years ago where it said they were trying to manipulate our genes and whatnot for the sake of making humans live longer and longer. And I'm just like, 70, 80 years feels like a good run. That's a good stretch. That's enough, honestly. But you guys do whatever you want to do. I highly recommend that everybody go see this film, because if you see it and add to the box office total and show them that you want a good movie, they'll make them stop giving them money for subpar product. And we need to do that across the board. Video games, all of it. We need to stop giving these people money for subpar entertainment. Looking at you, Nintendo, but that's a whole other rant for another video. That's going to wrap things up here for today. Thank you guys so much for being here and checking out yet another video. Check out the rest of the videos in the playlist. Like I said, I am over on the Instagram there. If you want to come over and check out all my photos that really have nothing honestly to do with Jurassic or my gaming stuff. It's more just a me kind of thing. But I went ahead and reactivated the Threads profile. So Instagram Threads, Blue Sky, all that. And I like to post over there, and I need to kind of shift focus on what I'm posting, because I'm losing sight of, you know, everybody posts on social media every random thought that just comes into their head, and I'm trying not to be that kind of poster. I'm trying to actually have meaning to the stuff that I post. So I might actually go in and clean up my socials. But that's enough of my long-winded thing. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you next time. Go see it. It's really good. You have my word. You will not be disappointed. So don't disappoint me. And don't disappoint big guy over here.